na minister e de kopal maje bread me akan bi manya bi akan
I'm saying the Abba ebi was central for we and so yeni abubo so as I say yeah the nukreni ade bi abeya consider ma adwade bi ano mwaye
okay
ye free bi trade facilitation trade facilitation no ye ka ho asema na enya a time of doing business, ease of doing business, and cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Inti edwedi ayedi na se business ye na no. Se sade no ho to chema na se ase yedwedi no. Inti se wo kwaje permit ne bia wo sa ko process bi no se me be kra ne menti afi na me ko process ne bia ya twen ya scrutinize your papers and sa na bia 1 week bi 2 weeks bi unsa kan papers and say a trade facility trade facilitation no aye exactly and you liberalized economy.
Yes,
it is a liberalized economy there. Let's say this year dey akwasidi bia eba yedwuma ayeyim and when the map permit no ye uncomfortable.
Okay,
but say akoba say ye kra na nke ye modalities a ebe me comfort ebe me assurance bi say ye bottlenecks any bureaucracy ne corruption no one is because all say the mankofo esro ni say ade no ebi abada eba ye no say ni see eba ye no ekoba say obi kra woni dwa kra na was menya permit me beto am
kokra no ma
or ton permit no kra ma
na wo mumu de
akokra wo mumu de say what we here no no so the wo contact no anything sadia me na no eya ade a ahunu bi penti ya na ma ase amanfo etwetwe wo na ade no akofar by the kasa no so no nyese bi asabe obi na atiri fo asempa kodo debi see you say ye no ni empam na ye nia na ki aka asembone na say ye self sufficient ye nia ye na say ke ye dwadifo kura no ye na ka ye beka beka asem no said the AC ka Ghana ni bia nim emfaso a wo self sufficiency ho Ghana ni bia ni onim emfaso a wo industrialization ho say ye adwadifo a ye tukwan ye ko advanced nations na wo ma industrialize a ye koto ne ma no eni said wo mu kro na tumpon to say ye na say ke beka sorry no enti ade bia ye de ba bia na enka beboa ye na ke enso ya bedu sa pempenso no de ke na ke be je na awa atu Nemo madie bia nso wo ya na wo ye die. If it must be done, it must be done well. That's exactly what myself and my association is talking about. Say, you say, edwadifo. Edwadie na ye die no. Ya ne to enobaya ekuafo de ba. Ya ne to enobaya manufacturers de ba. Eti yan manufacturing is not complete unless it reaches the final consumer.
Yes.
And we serve as the vehicle.
Yeah.
Any fidujuma, any yinini na kanfua, aye intertwined. It won't me enka industrialization abra uyi efrim. And only mistake debiano wamoye Emma wamon bridge yen any local manufacturers in together. And we say we are intertwined in this course. Say yen ye di wo mutum na ye ton wo mu ne ma na na be mu wo madi ye eni ti nsama ye kan na no ye hwehwe free ministry of trade wo no ya asama ye hwehwe na be hye manufacturers no eni kwayo mu emuden eni ti ye ne to eniema enoba wo mu de be na shortfall no of demand because ye serve Ghanaians ye waso die say Ghana fo na ensabe ko ma no eti ya to Ghana de no ebeton a de eya shortfall no ni akwama na ne yakofa ba eni ti si yakofa ba eno no maye nye omambofo said de ya na manfo bi pese omu penti adwadifo black no eti ye provide service buso why the work factory wo kromi a wono an to ne no buy obi any shop ye ni an ye to sa no buy no and ye to ma de ye to a ye wo demand from the customers na the enso wo no ni akofa beka ho eti semre bi aba and I will say okay ye hwe pete takremu a se si a ye ni ayensa aso ye chi adware eti ye pese sa ne ma we ye ayensa aso ye chi adware de nka be ya yente import no so kakra nya sa de ye ka eti se wo ka sa de a and the year can say, ye knew ni a chin yet. Yet industrialization, I say, yet say, ye boy ye local industries, I say. But a quite banner, woo, what the yes, as you say, a quite banner, what the boy no hoba say, see a giant importation now, yeah, the gradually no what's a war restricted, there's a bedroom paper, so be no, what me and farmer cry. That's a ya attending self-sufficiency. Anything, a young banner, the man say, timelines, Ben were provided, say, ye, okay, I do a ya day bay. Says here, near my way, near my way, I trade, sad year way no, your local capacity of the general, the total consumption, you were only 20%. It is 20%, no, after that, you started program, yeah, as you say, papa, you dear to her, your person, you pay local production, no. And you say, or no, after that, no, you bet me 20%, I become I'm 40%. The Ebano, you bet 20 bill, now yes, 60%. It you bedroom fear no, near attaining self-sufficiency. It is that time, no, dear, who back ye Jesua, and I will call a baby, yes, I many be a war as a important, who may just sign many be at all, no at all. That's where Juma angry. It Adiana one yano out of the emptiness. One yano in abstract form. Wo ya to achieve results. Now your problem are your work. I was there who say, "One mama objectives, no, one can't say, and then one restriction, no, and a year woman dear, so I'm very restricted, and your manner, your dear ban. It's your passadia. There's a butaya see when you so no. There's a new hop. You need we need butano. In internet, will put tire what they are no. And you're empty and flawed.
But semitie we are in principle. Munye against the LI which seeks to limit the importation of certain products into the country. Because now we say in my line of business and kasandi mo yene say moto local manufacturers ne nioma say anso na mo imported the akane. And if government says listen, ade amoye that then now what we want to do is to back it with legislation. In the mra by Rebecca say okay, saying I'm better free local. Now saying I'm more quite bit me imported the aba. In principle, you are not against that.
No. See, yes, you say near the abwa, near your self-sufficient. Why? But also Nigeria, you know, we use Nigeria as an example. Yes. Nigeria and some other pande rice importation. But Nigeria clock say you. At the end of man, Nigeria you bold. Say you ban the rice. Because now at that time, no, one more a self-sufficient of about 75% to 80%. It's not kakumebi. So we do self-sufficiency. So they had the bull by the horn and say yeah banned.
So we a total ban.
Exactly.
In our case, there are restriction.
Be part of restriction no cry and so so.
Sure, I agree.
It's a dear threshold. And I would abetua say because it shouldn't be restriction and just add number 20 you say industrializer and said to be covered the baby. And it's a so crowd would be the threshold we better say. And now local manufacturing entity be another local industries achieve a be at 40% of total consumption automatically self restriction started. When you be bisa. It's a threshold
because the point is I would want to believe say before say LI never call parliament I know say ministry never consultations omone muni nkomo good
time didn't come and come on yet no okay it will because you are consultation me will be a member because you are consultation but obi wa what ya wo wakoja yam and they were na adena pop up. Now, but say you're very restricted some items. If you take big other cables, it will they keep changing the list. It's a basana a panic setting in a near core ministry.
Okay.
No one more Akaza said this the intention. Maybe I yes you can say Ciano say the import na no and then the yetiminya no a chromium is shadow. Anything that might yet call into war restrict here. Yet me access cry well companies in the also one more so distributor back
yes.
I want on a distributing to a passer here for cranny back to Tony man. Yes, you have massa input with you. Anything, sir, in some way, yeah, can no. That's it, dear, your person, yeah, and I see it, say, my assurance, any comfort to say, yeah, well, restricted a free importation, you know. Dear measures in why ya, a baby, access to the local production. When you said enough. That's a dangerous one out there. That's a we're interested in say who go ye new man kekana because we cannot do it in empty.
No, but the point is because after say Emrana Basa restricted the importation of weed, the next thing is percentages no at saying into okay, yeah, say you fancy a fat toilet roller. Before a buying be decided say okay, toilet roll no restriction, yeah, restriction say 70% per any bit may import the aba. 30% the monto ewa. Before a buyer will come out with some percentages, no. Now who the local capacity be.
Exactly.
Not least on him.
Exactly. And yes, for to ja.
Na consultation no man can be Sanchez.
Oh, that minimum can be because young fan to ja. Minimum. Ekweba be translate to. And one point no. And because say yenya Sanchez yenya timelines. Yenya roadmap ya the whole thing. That's a was a beer, so toilet roll near far. Yet look up capacity already, no, 50%.
Okay.
And it more cost of the bassa, yet Timia boy, homodia, ye year one, you bet me do at ya tini, one entias, one the tree for some pacodo. And to a moment yet, information that what crowd would do a baby that will cast a beer 3 years on. Wo year evaluation, one can say, oh, you start here, no, now local toilet roll crowd, now the capacity of production, now 20% of total consumption.
Yes.
After that, you know, you do 60%. Now factories are never had, and now just 10%. Say, see, factories cry, bear 30. Now you move. Kopim time you bet me you know at that time no we all owe it together at that time no but because we figures you crown na and then manufacturers no because I didn't know you know the cover investors no
yes
factories bebre wa had no bebre traders locals no what turn the other who capacity and wa cover number it's about 80% no it is who why you say no e bi kura be me supplier kwakọ discuss is what may you do how people say this data say now local no mo produce be say me percent me so me be ye bi say oh you were ye be 1 million tons and ye by ye bet just be 100,000 tons it we were more room to also come in you need her information in anything that won't share now, no. Now, your officer will yet restriction now they are harassing for Juma.
No, but the point is it your understanding, sir? After say LI no it go through 21 days now a be matured. Is it your understanding, sir? A buyer will not submit a detailed plan on how it will be implemented.
And so does it take a century to bring the detailed plan? Because you do it side by side. So are you is it going to be an afterthought? No. This is a plan. Let one more kasa agriculture ni honge kawin. Opa wo ye journalists demand say your agri policy. What they demand is say no will be farmer to anim say agri policy. We do it consciously a deliberate effort to enhance on industrialization. And we do not also have to overprice our industries. It is quite bad now. Wo benchmark prices as to the current prices are imported ones and the prices are locals in a year. You watch your player who bet me a locals because you are not producing to consume only locally. So we are with industrialization now. Industrialization in now is looking into your local consumption. So this is what you do. You tie up the importers hand behind. And then tell them you all of you consume whether it is expensive, whether it's quality or otherwise, and consume what is being manufactured here. And this is what we are doing, and that's not industrialization. Industrialization, your produce should be competitive so that you can export and then you can consume some locally. What methods in why what measures now there to acquaint say you buy no you no buy no ebe cheaper you could feed juice you produce no can no here talk on Nigeria where you talk when said there's a local manufacturing entity called Avinash. Omo e dey call omo factory wokotema omna cellulose kakaka kremo do tema
omna ye
ne anwano wom se aye anwana no omo ye no sesi a aye enam Togo we de ye nya China de akwakofo wono no factory ni bi Ghana no obi so factory ni bi Togo Togo dia no ebeton ni die na Ghana because Togo dia dey far cheaper than one de die eti what fan out to say adentina local manufacturer now person protect no one on the price no board dey 100 kilometers away one more there cheaper than these are the questions that we're talking about and aside that dear say and why say protection now with the local manufacturer no one subjected to abuse we've been there before e could do tell me you restrict import you not say wo koto dia you free be cheat and cheat system this your ma cheat now dia koto dia no ya be lot because we need want me and contain the demand any you know manufacturer no we want to know point your friend is saying distributor ebi and wo fa bi ni nua bi was one go na ye so distributor it will be a enkofa na branch no dey akọ no go independence no akọfa ne niema e wo baabi no na se wakum dwafo dida aniti sanye mani na ya nhye ni anhwe modalities you know sa protection ya de ama you know and subject to abuse or leading to monopolistic that's a program now empty useless.
Yeah, but my point and it's these are all beautiful suggestions. If we all agree with the principle behind LI na Aqua Parliament, no, and they said the kind akano to give legislative backing to Ade Amoye Dada because you buy locally, no matter imported there, remainder no Ede Aba. Government wants to give legislative backing to Sadiana Air Cost. This time, no. Maybe it will be clearer with percentages saying you bit my fair free local, saying you bit my fair free amanone ediaba. If that is not in the details you want is not in this bill. Nasa bill no pass you that's our details no ebeba. Why are you against the bill?
Yeah, we're gonna have a bit me about because Nippon the main focus. So main focus on objectives and can you that it have taken the lead. The main focus on the restriction. For whatever interest,
but the restriction would have to happen before.
No, it's side by side because you have taken time to plan it. So you took all your time, about 5 years, to plan only the restriction. And so, what kind of administration?
Who said, "Yeah, more course our meeting or more frame, and then I'm going to discuss it."
Restriction. So we are going to restrict, and we are saying that you don't have to restrict in emptiness. You have to give us timelines.
They just told you some person more restrictions.
Exactly. What they tell me. That's how we get some training. Kadiba Yankee and country say, oh, and she say we, I didn't know she said no media, but come on, not then and go for fighting and can about this time can win by won't be and you find a document one can won't go. Yet I was hearing I didn't have my objectives, you know. I can't say at the papa say I dare soon we say. And what is your objectives now? Acquire who bet media reduce taxes. Acquire Uber for social media Nigeria just recently, consciously, woman lay gas pipeline. And the one industrial area when that pipe can be say, and the gap woman name now the Omoye will be no gas plant. Gas plant, we can plant a generator.
Yes.
And one more tap into this gas and it's gas and cheaper, far cheaper than the national grid. It will the say Unilever and the bank first now can produce a baby as they say no woman produce the young in Nigeria no more at their back. It won't with such questions no and can say sir and near mine and dear quite so that by ya after your neighbors Togo at the end year to with the end year to no more with their restrictions and today is a share no it is in fact sugar. Now sugar no the catcher say we are starting from zero. Because the tree near you baby you produce sugar you got to you say afidie nyuma wo baby but the production e be and start here.
Okay but doc my musa question we na memra beverages for no eho say yemfa say for the purpose of this argument say plan na mo hwehwe no say aban e dey say plan ne ba comprehensive timelines any BBR. Said you more demand. If that plan should come today, what else about this whole policy is still a mobile problem with? Because Honorable John Jinapa sent me a message this year, or a minority member of parliament, or say the minority is not against import restrictions, but to leave the selection of importers to the minister is a no-no.
Exactly.
It may be say plan now more panel. Say ministry need a plan, they have comprehensive plan. I share timelines. How we see BBR. Would you still have a problem with minister the best selected importers? Mobile problem with
that? They be all say a minister cry yeah no say oh yeah the idea no man as a one power with me court. Trade facilitation is impeded. Because why do I have to go to court? Because I wanted to import something to come and supplement what is being done. And definitely then there's going to be a problem because that statement shouldn't even have come in the first place.
Sir, minister the best selector.
The minister says, now what issues are go to court. But don't they have a trader before MSA women because they wanted a permit. A delay, no more come once and will say, oh, it's a delay, and I am farmer will go to court. Now it impedes on trade facilitation.
Yeah, but the process of giving out permits, it should be within a legislative framework, and that framework would dictate how you see because, for example, I've heard him say, as part of giving out permit to local importers, you have to show proof, what the kind had to be from local manufacturers. And there is a gap. If you don't show, what to be from local manufacturers, they cannot give you the permit to import.
We are being scientific. The information as regards to purchases abroad, is shown in ICAM. And we are not going to reinvent anything. The information is already there. Nipano and the bus electronically in the Nipana, it should pop up all the import that the person has.
No, but ICAM will not show, this importer not to be from, Avinash or Ghana. ICAM will not show that.
Yeah, so I feel that Yadisa as a seno, but it Yadisa as a seno, but will be the Avinash information. But I feel the ever build that data.
Okay.
And the Acasa, you see a yebiana a bit impeding. Say, a 1 day, you are trusting near some modalities, of acquisition of the permit, it take you 1 day. Then, of course, we know it's not important. We haven't discussed those modalities.
Okay.
We haven't discussed the threshold at the end of because you are starting restricted. For instance, sugar does it start at 0?
Okay.
No, it should start somewhere where we have gotten about 30% capacity.
Okay.
Then you say that now the restriction is starting.
Okay.
We don't even know this
the capacity we have now.
The threshold for these ones, the capacities and all that. So we lack information. So we have to be provided with. And so all that we are saying is, we hold Mobia, yes, as a product. A bar, not a result to no bar. A man in the bedi,
but how about drastic situations call for drastic measures? Sir, young withhold the na yenin komo, yenya further engagement. We've been on this road all this while.
When did you start planning the restriction? We've been. So when does you ban?
Ban?
Ban is more restriction.
Let's ban it.
Let's you ban.
We'll ban it.
Because
it's taking you more than 5 years to only do restriction. Now when we the whole thing,
let them ban.
It's nobody
should import anything.
I hope you understand what you're saying.
I get you.
And so what taking 5 years? And there's a restriction. I want to be and compare the problem between Togo and Ghana. Why Avinash is not selling, why Avinash is collapsing, why Unilever, which have a company here, is able to bring from Nigeria. You haven't done that analysis. And you haven't said that, okay, from this that we've done, we know that when we start the restriction, the following year, because of the restriction, we are going to move up by 20%. The following year, we are going 60%, and we haven't done that.
Okay.
Sammy, if you should take you 5 years to do restriction, so it means that your major preoccupation is restriction, and which will never bear you any results.
It's money.
Which will bring chaos and confusion and problem for the consuming public.
But it will be difficult to appreciate say the ministry in sending this LI to Parliament, you know, wouldn't have a proper comprehensive plan.
We've talked over this ever since they wanted to bring this.
Yeah.
We've talked over this. It's difficult. Say by now, I'm say, hey, as hard way you see now. Now with the abetuja, here now you can say, oh, this is what we are seeking for. These are the sugar. We are the car industry. They produce maybe 30% of local consumption.
Here was 70%.
There was 70%, and that's where we are starting from.
Okay.
And why don't you do that? And then let people know the truth about it. And we all go with it. But we don't do something out of emptiness. That's our problem. It shouldn't be done in emptiness.
I get you. Doc, I was a doc, another event. Doc, yeah, that's it. But let me bring in beverage. It is Beverages Association, right? Beverages Association. Food and Beverage Association. Mono, can you uchi Obe mixing and kaka? No problem. Mono, obey. Mono, and you have Namokra de Bagana. Food and beverage, they are there.
No, food and beverage represent anything food, anything drink.
Anything
food. Sugar, biscuits, water,
confectionery, water,
anything
everything.
food, anything drink. So we have local manufacturers who are members of the Food and Beverage Association, ABC, Guinness, or they are manufacturers. Some of your drinks, some of your beverages. And of the omoye fruit juices now, omoye members.
Asaki Brase.
And the food and beverages are food and then beverages.
Okay, fantastic. Inti, for more as an association, no, are you saying here and now, say, throughout our conversation, we know, moon citing any comprehensive plan? Say, okay, beyond this LI, no, the spirit behind the LI, I mean, we have to gradually make sure say we are self-sufficient. We all agree in principle with that. But the more can say even beyond our LI, no any comprehensive plan be on timelines, on how we are going to phase out way, on how we are going to increase percentage wise.
Absolutely not. But let me just make a point that this LI takes us back to 1961. The document, when you look at this document, and you go and look at Nkrumah's import restriction under the Nkrumah's regime, it's copied right down from that document, 1961, what the restrictions that the Nkrumah posed. And when they did that, there were a couple of two ministers that were court cited for corruption because of this import restrictions. No? And they were taken on. Investigative bodies were conducted into their affairs, and then these ministers were taken. Go and read the theory of go and read economic development. Tony Kinlick have written development economy. He has written on this kind of import restrictions things. Then you see the minority talking about Justice Louis, that's 1967. That is fast forward justice and kind of thing. 2012. Under John Mahama's regime, he did it for import restrictions. He said that before you import chicken, and some will be importing chicken. I say we'll talk for 40% local, and then we'll be importing 60%. And it did not work, and it was saddled with corruption. Now, that's why the minority were telling you that this thing will create corruption because they practiced it.
They have done it.
They have done it, and they saw it, and then they suspended it. So, and yet anything new. What I see is, from this document, clearly, it's taking us back to 1960. Now it failed. And you are repeating something. So it is very painful. Me, and may I say me a food and beverage chairman Keke. I am a consultant, I'm a researcher. I am somebody, one of the best experts they can have in this country on these matters.
Really?
When it comes to food.
But you were consulted, no?
Who consulted where? Can I be consulted and be part of this this document like this? And so, 2001, Now I'm sure that now what is Kodikwa now institute made in Ghana goods now. Yes, increased consumption making Ghana goods, rice, and other. Now what is school feeding program, and then government sovereign institutions, and they have to eat locally produced rice, and then we did it. We came out with that policy. And sorry, we came out with that policy, What we did, we sat down at the Ministry of Agri conference room with the professors, every people all over. Now we started with the fact that we want to restrict imports of rice by 80%. Now be say the minister say restricted rice into 80%. Now me say 80% no. How many tons of rice? Into how many tons of rice? See how much hectares of land you require to be able to produce that quantity of rice. Rice varieties, Ben, now you say. Water system, what do you need? Input system, what do you need? These are questions that we asked in the Ministry of in the conference room. Then they reduced it to 70. I said, you haven't answered my question. My question is, this 80 or 70% translate to what quantity? Now, must say that time, you're importing rice, $100 million dollars worth. Me say $100 million worth. No, it translated to what quantity? Yeah, we George, and finally you could see 30%. Say you reduce imports by 30%, meaning that will increase imports, local production by 30%. And to step 2, now you say, okay, who are the producers of the rice? Now you share producers, so we checked the main producers, then the outgrowers. And when I come to outgrowers, one of the major things that has failed agri in this country is the outgrower system, the land tenure system.
But there is a development on this in Parliament, and the minister was in Parliament again, seeking to be able to lay the LI. We are told, sir, there is a new development on that. Speaker, I'm making some orders be on this. Let's get to listen to our parliamentary correspondent here. Fantastic. Now, what's the latest development on this LI? Minister Timiale.
And then when I can follow say Ataji, KT Hammond 3 times I'll try say obey regulation here minority succeeding in blocking all 3 times. And then he has gotten some major concession from the Speaker of Parliament. Say Namia Duma Yawada di obey to me LACI, And the crux of the Speaker's argument, and he said, when it comes to the Constitution and the power to lay or make such subsidiary legislations like LIs, CIs, it is given to constitutional bodies, ministries, and they have to follow certain constitutional processes. Once those processes have been met by the minister or any other constitutional body seeking to do that, Parliament ain't to me and stop the person from laying it.
Sure.
The moment mine say some na CI and LI. No, they can by 2/3 majority annul that LI or CI before it matures into law in 21 sitting days. In the Speaker of Parliament argument on the two minority majority before you say so if you party KC Hammond also all year in terms of laying the LI. And Mraman Hokwan. And when we say minority for good exporters and importers, our issues with the specific issues in the LIDA. But in Mremuno, what stops the Minister for Trade and Industry from going ahead to lay his LI? And on the Speaker of Parliament, Ejina Swa, one making consequential order say, Namia Duma Yawada, KT Hammond, Ebetmia Lacy, but before that, and any Otina, Onshia Subsidiary Legislation Committee, Dr. Dominic Ayini and Yomo chair. Now, and go through the various amendments leadership are proposing, and then on Thursday morning they can lay it. But even before this order, there was some fierce resistance from the minority in the House. Emmanuel Lama Kufiboa, Ahmed Ibrahim, Eddie minority phone in a chair says, I'm Rawedi, so crab because say what they took me way Minister of Trade and Industry in Sase. So we import even 1 grain of rice. At about Maimuha. This of KT Hammond as Minister of Trade Ecoji approval. And the Minister of Trade can give licenses to people to import these materials or these products into the country. And that the minister can also decide say we're revoking these licenses. They believe that this is too much power to give one person, and that is why they are opposed to the legislation. But Speaker of Parliament said you can be opposed to that unless you get 2/3 of all MPs in the House to annul that LI. It will become law. In the exchange, say yeah, what are they? KT Hammond bet me allay this legislative instrument or Parliament. Now, Emrano Equanima 21 sitting days. Now, Bayemra. Obi SMS Kabio say, so from a Nekosi 22nd December Parliament, Ebeco Breaker. I just around 19 or 18 sitting days. So, in fact, a lazy I know on Thursday, it will be just left around 17 sitting days for that LI to become law. And Nunti, a very likely say Parliament best on a Saturday and Sunday in the coming days so that they can get 21 sitting days to make this law. And see, in some of the Parliament, it's a good time. Other institutions are winning this Samra way. No man tells them there. Speaker of Parliament, Ayip Mamukwan said, Yawada, KT Hammond, bet to me, I'll leave this controversial ally in Parliament. Now, 21 sitting days.
But I heard, sir, in the debate leading up to the Speaker's directives, no, Honorable KT Hammond made the point, sir, some of the misgivings are not minority members, no, there have been some amendments or my corrections being the LI. Is that true? I reflected some of the concerns and minority members, no.
Minority forms some no cano. Okay, teach you more. Almost your penis said. KT Hammond say yeah obia importers for econo akwaje permission say ono ana omo kwan na won fa anya me emro maimu omo so meli njun kra na mom because KT Hammond did not want to bat on that premise. They wanted some amendment say KT Hammond refuses any importer say on man fa emo sugar drinks emo maimu the person can come to Parliament.
Okay,
at the time no KT Hammond agrees say this can be factored into the LI. But KT Hammond in same way the buy and say, call Attorney General. Attorney General say, how do you know Emra Mahukwai? He say LI no make regulation say Obiko KT Hammond ho na say KT say me Mahukwai ma umfa ma o mai mo me Mahukwai ma umfa sitre e makwai mo utimi court. Enu nti enu ana LI no ama ho e kwan say woni nye asema KT Hammond beka ho utimi court.
Okay, I think for
Ghana has a court maybe 2 years, 3 years. They have say importer or importing large volumes of rice. Eko KT Hammond ona KT say that be ma macro. That's a court maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. Asana court ka say be a KT Hammond discretionary.
Kweku, I think we the constant mention of KT Hammond personalizes it. The Minister of Trade
and Industry.
Because KT can be out of the ministry tomorrow. The Minister of Trade.
And that is what the minority have been making that point. Say, in fact, also KT Hammond, every it's him fine. Oh yeah. Then what's na Minister of Froba, not the Minister of Frono. Ever so you soon Mrawi, a share the party members, and then a number for. About the ama or minus my betting your coin. And KT Hammond, Trade and Industry Minister, currently responded say all these measures and all these concerns a minority for a fact are raised. He will meet with a subsidiary legislative committee and then make sure that all these are incorporated. In the many of I heard him say committee, Dr. Dominica Yini, Omo Besia, the Minister for Trade and Industry. Then they can trash out all these outstanding issues. Then on Thursday morning, KT Hammond can lay this.
Okay. So what minority members now are opposed to that specific provision about Minister of Trade and a BEMA permit for people to import? No, the minority says in its place no propose. What was the proposal?
So Emmanuel Amakofiboa, or say the economy is a liberalized economy. Let's say we be our person or import or export things. they should be able to do so. And that, in fact, that particular legislation in the airline, infringes on the World Trade Organization. That is the argument minority for put it forth. But they don't want anything in substitute of that. They want the airline to be completely withdrawn because they say that it does not make sense to give any minister of state that level of power. And that is why
me busa our question because the minority insists they are not against import restrictions. What they are against is to leave all that power with the Minister of Trade. My question then, and maybe it's unfair for me to ask you that question, but my question then is if they are not in principle against import restrictions, now we are against the minister giving that power, say or no determine why be import, why ni import here. Then what do they suggest? And then we propose
in place of it. The Obi, so debate happen on the floor today. Because the minority's position has always been on the floor that they want the airline to be completely withdrawn.
Meaning, say they are against.
What alternatives are they offering
in
place of that? And they have not offered that alternative. They say that it is simply bad law to give the Minister for Trade and Industry that level of power and that level of influence to decide who imports what into the country. And that is what the argument has been. In fact, this question that you asked me, Katie Amon has also made that point on the floor. Obisa said, if you don't want this, then what do you want? Who should we give that power to? Should we give that power to a committee of ministers, or we should set up an independent agency to do that? But the minority have not been able to offer any alternative in terms of that specific provisions in the LIOB.
Okay, but by the okay as a minority, they say the law should be taken off from Parliament, meaning say the minority is against even the import restrictions, not right?
Yes, in fact, on the day the first attempt was made to lay this, like you said, the minority leader and his deputy made the point that they are not against import restriction. But first, what they want to see is, if you want to restrict the importation of rice, they want to first see, say, Obama, they be more to the extent, say, between FCDA and so are restricted to a certain point. So although they said they are not against import restriction, strictly speaking, they have not provided an alternative. So if you are not against import restriction, it means you are for it to a certain level. But how should that be done? And that is the question a lot of people have been asking. The minority won't answer them. How exactly do they want this to be done so that while they all agree, say, import restriction of a certain kind are important, the only thing outstanding is the minority for EMFA in Mwayama said this is how we want it to be done or want it to be done that way.
Kwasante ya da CBB ni ebesia ba bedi nkomo bio. Why? Kwasante Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent and Amoten in Kano in studio. Eyora John Awuni. John Awuni, Executive Chairman, Emma Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. Asaki Awingo Beti, Executive Director, Edema Importers and Exporters Association. Owaha. Samson and Napokuye. Now, Secretary for TAG. General Secretary, Edema TAG. General Secretary General, General Secretary Edema TAG. Elia Mote Guta President and so enka. And I'll be having a conversation with these gentlemen. But before, at least a little background information on what's happening in Parliament currently to shape your conversation, CCR. I'll pause for this short break. When I come back, I have a 5-minute interview with my friends from the Robert Smith Law Group on the Law for Society seminar Airbus this Friday. They are doing that in partnership with Asempa FM. I'll speak with them for 5 minutes and then we return with a comprehensive conversation on this with my friends Ewaha from Beverages and Food Association. Everything food. Importers and exporters, the mother body and a tag Traders Advocacy Group Ghana once General Secretary.